distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you all to First Cape Precinct, home of the Botswana Stock Exchange. My name is Khotla Sehwe, and I'll be leading proceedings of this morning's May 2019 opening bell ceremony. Now, before we begin the proceedings of this morning's agenda, kindly allow me to acknowledge the presence of the following: the Minister of Investment, Trade and Industry, Honorable Bogolo Kenewendu, the CEO of the Botswana Stock Exchange, Mr. Thapelo Theole. We also have our fellow speaker, Botswana Stock Exchange Head of Market Development, Ms. Thapelo Mribame. I'd also like to take this time to acknowledge our BSE senior management and staff here present, the business community as well, SMME owners, business owners here today. I'd also like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the presence of the brokerage community. Unfortunately, I haven't seen anyone here, but they will be in attendance this morning, as well as market participants within the ecosystem of capital markets. I'd also like to take this time to acknowledge you, members of the public, members of the media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. Once again, I'd like to welcome you to the May 2019 opening bell ceremony, which has been appropriately themed the importance of SME development. During this ceremony, we will be acknowledging the government's efforts through the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry in creating a conducive environment for the promotion of investment and economic diversification by developing sustainable industries that can nurture the growth of Botswana's economy. Over and above that, we will be leveraging off this ceremony in addressing how SMMEs can utilize the stock exchange as a catalyst for growth through equity financing. So this morning, we have the guest of honor, as I did mention earlier, which is the Honorable Minister of Investment, Trade and Industry, Honorable Kenewendu. Before I call to the podium the BSE CEO, I'd like to kindly go through the items that we have through in the agenda this morning. From 9:30 to 9:40, we shall have the welcome remarks and the market update, which will be delivered by Mr. Thapelo Theole, who is the BSE CEO. From 9:40 to 9:55, we shall have the official remarks, which will be delivered by the Honorable Minister. From 9:55 to 9:56, which is when the market will officially open, we shall have the official bell ringing, which will be facilitated by the Honorable Minister as well as Red Thapelo Theole. From 9:56 to 10 a.m. this morning, we shall have the photo opportunity, which will constitute the Honorable Minister as well as BSE management. And then from 10 to 10 past 10, we shall have the vote of thanks, which will be delivered by the Head of Market Development, Ms. Thapelo Mribame. So at this point in time, without further ado, please welcome to the podium the Botswana Stock Exchange CEO, Thapelo Theole.
Honorable Minister of Investment, Trade and Industry, Honorable Bogolo Kenewendu. I think I'm the one who's pronouncing it better than Khotla. Local Enterprise Authority CEO, Dr. Rishas Moatsi, Local Enterprise Authority EXCO, BSE Senior Management, the business community here present, members of the financial markets community here present, capital markets participants, members of the media and members of the public. I know there are more than 100 people here. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I want to take this opportunity to welcome you to the May edition of the opening bell ceremony. And during this ceremony, we will be acknowledging government's efforts through the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry in creating a conducive environment for promotion of investment and economic diversification by developing sustainable industries that will nurture growth of Botswana's economy. Further, we intend to leverage on this ceremony to address how SMMEs or SMEs, how the SMMEs can have so you youngsters, SMEs, can contribute towards the development of Botswana's economy by utilizing the stock exchange as a catalyst for growth and expanding business operations. As such, It is a great honor and privilege to us as the BSE to have with us this morning the Honorable Minister of Investment, Trade and Industry, Honorable Minister Bogolo Kenwendo. The TPD mentorship program, Honorable Minister, is intended to provide candidates with education and mentorship that they can utilize to prepare them for listing. And it is targeted towards companies that are smaller and medium-sized. And such programs have worked very well in a number of markets worldwide. We have the Elite program by London Stock Exchange, which is one of the most successful and famous one, which they have franchised to Nigeria and to Morocco. We have the Ibuki or Ikuka or something in Kenya, which is also working very well. And therefore in Botswana we have developed the TPD mentorship program. This is a dream, it's an ambition, but we know it will work. And we are determined as the BSE to make sure that this works very well. In fact, I don't think we have done anything that have failed here. I'm yet to see that. The program is going to cover things like needs assessment of each company that have got intentions to list either in the medium or in the long term. The program will be provided by industry experts. We are going to be calling investors, fund managers, who are going to be taking this medium companies or small companies through what is it that an investor look for when they want to put money in your company. What are the things that they want the company to do to reach that stage? That is why we are saying it's practical based. It's not necessarily theory based. We are going to be taking companies through basic things like regulation and corporate governance, which I think is one of the things that immensely contribute to the failures of business. People, majority of them in this country, they don't differentiate between passion and business. They don't differentiate between hobby and business. And majority of them run companies that reach a stage where the founder needs to exit, but they tend to cling too much on the company. And then ultimately, you'll see in the newspapers that this so-and-so company, I don't want to say names, so-and-so company is in trouble. It's simply because in the lifespan of a company, there's a certain point where as a founder, you just need to go home and sit down and let other brilliant minds take over to run the company. That is why majority of, especially citizen-owned companies, they become successful from foundation. They go up, either kidi basi, kana kidi mausi, kana king, and then at a certain time, now things start to fall apart. That is why majority of the companies that have long lifespan are listed entities. Because in a listed company, you can get new brains into the company while you are at home and people making money for you. There are certain requirements that we are going to be looking at, and I can assure you we are going to be getting the best experts in SMEs, not only in this country, some will be coming from outside the country. But because of capacity, we are not going to be having a lot of companies. I think it's going to be maybe 20 companies or so in the country, but I think we are going to be pushing them bit by bit. So those are some of the things that we are going to be looking at. So we are going to be onboarding companies, and then there's going to be practical inductions. We are also going to be taking these companies through the listings requirements, because the listing requirements is one of the best tools to make sure that the company is in a proper state for it to list. And I think ultimately companies will graduate from this program, and then thereafter they will make a decision in terms of when is the best time for them to list. But even if these companies don't list, I think for us it's going to be good, because we'll have taught them the aspects of corporate governance, we'll have taught them the aspect of corporate structure, because some of the companies don't even have a structure. corporate structure. Some of the majority of our companies don't even know what is corporate finance. They don't know what is a mixture of equity and debt, which is viable to and relevant for the SMEs. Go tsewa madi mo pateng hela ba tsengwa mo businessing without any go sa itse gore ke equity a ke debt a motho a ikolota mo company e ha tsa mo teng ha company dira madi go tsewa mo company go tsengwa mo pateng e be go tsengwa mo ganong. That is the painful realities of why most of our companies don't really grow. So this program is not only aimed at our selfish interest as the PSC to make them list, but also to contribute towards the proper structures of companies that are existing in our economy, because I think it's going to add a lot of content. With those few remarks, ladies and gentlemen, I think maybe I've been asked also to touch on the market update. The equity turnover, January to April 30, I think we have traded 474 million, which is 40% more than what we traded last year. So we are doing relatively very well in this first 4 months. While other markets are doing in the negative, I think we are going up in terms of tradability. The market cap, I think, is 412 billion. That is the total size of the stock exchange, with 25 domestic companies and 9 foreign companies, and 1 Serala OTC registration, which is BBS. On the bond market, there are 7 government bonds and 41 corporate bonds, and we still have 3 ETFs. And I think, given the macroeconomic structure of Botswana presently, we tend to uplift a lot of our activities, because if you could have seen in the newspapers, you realize that GDP growth rates for last year globally was 3.7%, and this year is projected to be at 3.5% globally. But majority of the growth in GDP is going to come from MENA region, which is Middle East and North Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa. So, which is quite promising in terms of our figures. And if you look at the GDP growth rates from 2006 to now, you realize that there are only 4 countries that are generally doing very well in the SADC region. SADC, I mean the 14 countries. Tanzania has an average growth rate of 7% in 2016, 2017, and 2018. Each year, they were reaching 7%. Madagascar last year, growth rate was about 5.2%. But for Madagascar, I'm not too ambitious, because when you grow from nothing, the increase is likely to be too high. So that is where in economics figures can be misleading. The same with DRC at 5.8%. In 2018, and then Botswana is the 4th country with highest GDP growth rates in 2018 at about 4.5% in 2018. So we are number 4 in terms of GDP growth rate. I hope you guys are feeling that growth rate of 4.5%. In terms of inflation, we are the lowest in region at 3.2%, and DRC is the highest in region at 30.8%. Current account, Botswana has the highest positive current account surplus of 6.89%, followed by Eswatini at 3.8%. The rest of the guys are in the negative of the 14 countries. Public debt to GDP, our debt is only about 13.4%. I think we are followed by DRC at about 14%. But I think their problem is probably there's no one willing to borrow their money. Otherwise, they could be higher. But the rest of the other region counterparts, like South Africa, is at 55% of GDP, and the other guys is the highest. I think it must be Mozambique at about 124%. So, in terms of macroeconomic variables, Honorable Minister, is it you and your cabinet, or you're a member of cabinet? I think Botswana is doing relatively very well in terms of the macroeconomic variables, and therefore I think it is the SME sector that need to take advantage of these positive growth rates to grow themselves, and they can do that by leveraging on the existence of the capital at the stock exchange to grow. With those few remarks, that you are welcome to our beautiful offices and our hospitality as the BSE. Enjoy yourself. This is a platform not only to listen to us, but also to create networks and also to learn from each other. Welcome, Minister, and thanks for honoring our invitation. Thank you, Khota.
Thank you, Retsole. I think, as the CEO did allude to, this program was first established earlier this year because as the BSC, we found it fitting that we need to contribute towards the development of SMEs, because the private sector, when we talk about a thriving, vibrant, robust economy, there is no way we can mention that without talking about a thriving private sector. And SMEs constitute the majority of that particular space. So that is why we found it fit as the BSC to establish this particular program and court companies towards the prospect of listing on the stock exchange. Now, without further ado, and looking at the time, we are running a bit behind schedule. I'd like to take this time and this opportunity to call to the podium the Honorable Minister of Investment, Trade and Industry, Honorable Boholo Kenewendu, to deliver the official remarks. Thank you.
A very good morning to all of you. It is a pleasure for me to be here today, especially given the context that Mr. Thapelo Tsheola, the CEO, just gave to all of us. And with that, I would like to start off by recognizing any of the BSE and CSD Board of Directors here present, any representatives from Team Mighty, the CEO of BSE, Thapelo Tsheola, and all your senior management here present, the CEO of Leah Reshis Mwatse, and any other CEO from Mighty or the government parastatals, the business community here present, CEOs of both large and small enterprises, ladies and gentlemen, members of the media. Earlier you said you don't see any members of the brokerage community, so I take it they are still not here. But members of the media, members of the public, ladies and gentlemen, I would like, first of all, on behalf of myself and the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry, and the government of Botswana, to thank Mr. Thapelo Tsheola and his team for inviting me to launch here today the Stock Exchange CPD Mentorship Program, which is well in line with the work that we are doing at the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry, and very well aligned to all the work that we've been doing under the SME Development Apex. It just so happens that it is one of the critical points in our SME Apex mentorship, which is led in the ministry by Mr. Reshis Mwatse, who's here from Leah. And it is indeed a great pleasure for me to see these kind of synergies in government pushing further and pointing further to statements that have been made by His Excellency Remokgweetsi Eric Masisi of that of one government, where parastatals in the Ministry of Finance can work with parastatals in the Ministry of Trade and the ministries and show the synergies that exist towards one similar goal and one transformation agenda that has been put in front of us by His Excellency the President. So of course, it also just so happens, and I hope you have cake because it's my birthday. No, I'm kidding. It's birthday month. Baba eats. So I thought it was quite coincidental because I have been waiting to be invited to this open bell ceremony for a while, and they took that time, I should tell you. and chose the right month to invite me, especially under this theme of the importance of SME development. So like I have said, I'm particularly pleased for these synergies because we continue to harp on that any engine of growth around the world in any economy is really based around SME development and the vibrancy of SMEs. And we have taken a particular interest through this administration on the development of SMEs, which is why when we started working on the deliverables of the ministry, we decided to break the ministry into apexes, and one of them was the SME development apex. And some have asked if this means that we are neglecting the bigger companies, and we continue to harp on the fact that we are not neglecting anyone. It's a special focus given the level of impact that we can see from the SMEs and that we have seen from SMEs around the world and their contribution to the economy. Because we know that a vibrant private sector, a vibrant SME sector continues to increase productivity in the economy, and there is more widespread creation of jobs, and this is a very big target for any government and the government of Botswana. And we're looking at increasing household income, we're looking at improving the creation of wealth and the development of skills and semi-skilled workers, and continuously looking for opportunities for developing and adapting technological innovation, amongst others. However, we are aware to all the challenges that SMEs face, and we have set it upon ourselves to deal with some of those challenges. And some that I would like to highlight that we will be dealing with as the year progresses is in alignment with the licensing procedures and processes and requirements. And in that regard, we have taken it upon ourselves to review both the trade and industrial bills in order to relax and create a flexible environment around the licensing requirements. So for companies that do not have any harmful effects on health and on the environment will no longer be required to license, but will just be required to register that they are fully functional. And we believe that this will give SMEs time to grow and to really focus on the business that they are trying to establish. And in addition to that, under the SME Apex, we continue to look at the development of centers of excellence, entrepreneurship centers of excellence around the country. And we have started through Leia to develop these centers by refurbishing some of the old buildings that Leia used to have across the country, and looking further at partnerships with some of the commercial banks, with some government departments, to ensure that we have a widespread target. And in delivering the mentorships that will be offered in these centers of excellence, it's not only upon Leia itself. Like I said, we are also operating on a one-team principle. So we will be seeing more efforts coming from the various mighty parastatals contributing towards what is being developed at the centers of excellence. And we have seen more partnerships coming from the private sector, those that are offering to mentor in the areas where they are doing business, those that are also offering to contribute towards a startup pot that we're working on, and those that are also offering to contribute towards this pre-financing budget that we have set aside to help those companies that need to do EIAs for viable projects, those that need to potentially buy land, once again for viable projects that we will follow up with financing from either CEDA, or we liaise and facilitate through our other partners in the commercial banking sector. And we continue to realize that one of the main challenges is that of, while we work on a favorable doing business environment, that one of the challenges is still really around financing. And over and above financing is an issue. Once we give you money, we still see companies fail to survive. And The challenge is that we do not understand some of the nitty-gritties of running a business. And this is why a program such as this started by BSE is important. And in the meantime, while we have this partnership with BSE and we applaud them for their work for mentorship program, we also have partnerships with the like of UNDP on the local supplier development program. And internationally, you might have seen that Botswana was the only Southern African country that was listed to benefit from the mentorship for entrepreneurs by Alibaba campus in China, as well as a guaranteed 20 to 40 positions at the Tony Elimelu Foundation, once again for the mentorship and training and development of our SMEs in Botswana. To date, the financial constraints to SMEs have had very negative effect on and stifling the growth and potential of businesses. And we have found that one of the challenges is that we continuously only focus on CEDA, and we focus on the banks. Some go as further as taking personal loans to finance their startup businesses. And we find that it's important for us to start to introduce other financing options and models to businesses in Botswana, especially to budding, innovative, and groundbreaking entrepreneurs. And this is why over the past couple of months, we have been bringing in several VCs and PEs, and we consequently want you to realize the potential role of capital markets in SME financing, which is why avenues like this at the stock exchange need to be fully utilized, and avenues like these that continuously to be talked about need to be utilized, as there remains great opportunity for access to equity market finance. So it's important that we continuously share options that exist in the world and financing that exists in the world. They say generally there's a lot of liquidity in the world, and we need to just know how to tap into that liquidity to ensure that we use it on productive purposes. So listing on a public market like the BSE and accessing equity finance is also associated with several other benefits. Kesaba market, mehela, keraher. There are several benefits. Mafia soul, babang hawaii. Several benefits to listing here at the BSE, and from a financing standpoint, given the access to a wider potential investor base, the cost of equity capital can be lower than other forms of finance. And in addition, once you're listed, the secondary offerings are easier to make, and certain types of enterprises may not be able to access debt finance, and as equity finance does not impose specific repayments requirements, it is less of a financial burden during times of economic stress, and particularly during times of expansion in the businesses. And further, listing would avail existing shareholders with the means of exiting the company, which I think it was very important that Mr. Taule spoke about this, that just because you start a business doesn't mean you need to stay in it forever. You need to know when it's time for you to leave and bring in the best minds to facilitate the growth of your business. And as it has been said several times, it is better for you to have 60% of something than 100% of nothing. So we need to know when to let go, and we need to, someone once gave me what I consider to be the best business advice to date, is when you start a company, do not think of it as your baby, because you will never let your baby die. You will continue to give it everything. You would rather walk barefoot. But a company should never be your baby. A company should fulfill its intended purpose, which is to produce and to make profit. You should never die for a company. When it doesn't work out, leave, reflect, introspect, why did it not work out, and start again. And the same goes for naming a company. Sentimental value doesn't push commercial sense. So I think that is important for us to continue reiterating. So you listing would further also enhance the profile of your firm and your companies, the profile of your firm and companies with potential employees, potential suppliers and clients, as well as more investors beyond what BSE can offer you. Because once you're there, you're showing your credibility. It assists with facilitating the use of company shares for future acquisitions through the valuation process. And in the same vein, I would like to commend, as I have done earlier on, the BSE team for establishing the CPD SME board, which was introduced at the beginning of this year. I think it's a very important tool for our SMEs, and I encourage all to visit the BSE and to find out how you can make use of this particular tool. This board is dedicated to companies like yourselves. Some might not be running yet. Some might still be in your dreams. But every company, as long as you are certain it makes commercial sense, as long as you are certain there's a demand for the product or service, as long as you are able to scale the business, should come and meet the team at BSE. I stress the scale part because we want companies that will help us achieve our goal of having an export-led economy. Because we are a small market, everyone complains about 2 million, but we forget that we have opened Botswana up to a market of Southern Africa, and we have recently opened up Botswana to the market of the continent of Africa, and we continuously engage in negotiations to soften and to ease your trading with other world markets. We are in current negotiations with the UK over the Brexit, and we have started our first joint negotiations with the EU to ensure and to monitor that trade between the two groups is going well. And we have agreements with Mercosur, which is in Latin America. So honestly, we want companies that scale beyond the 2 million and are able to tap into the wider global market. If we say we're starting small, it's starting small to the Southern African market. And that is how we scale, and that is our vision. And in that regard, yesterday we launched the National Export Strategy, and there we highlighted that we are introducing a long to medium term program that will assist with insurance for investments for those that are outward looking. If you want to send your product outside of Botswana, come talk to us, find out how we can facilitate you. If you think the market is unstable, you talk to us and we see if we can't insure your investments in those markets. It's only for a few select markets now, but we're in talks with others in order to ensure that that product is well rolled out across the world to facilitate your trade. So, ladies and gentlemen, I feel like I have said a mouthful, and some will get lost. I think some of the things I say will get lost, not lost to you. So I want to quickly go down to saying, let us definitely make use of this program, because I believe that over and above it being set up at the BSE, it is a program worth celebrating for its contribution to this economy. Ladies and gentlemen, without having taken too much of your time, though we have lots of updates from the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry, we will hold our own press conference at some point, so I don't take up all your time. Our own press conference to share on the updates at the ministry and some of the changes that we have seen. But one that I should say before I leave this podium is that we expect, as we have always communicated, the official launch and that the OBRS system will be live the 3rd of June. If it is not, please give me a call. Some head will roll. I get it. And My ministry, and indeed government as a whole, is committed towards assisting SMEs, committed towards easing the doing business environment, towards facilitating investment. And there's a misunderstanding every time we say facilitating investment. It is not foreign direct investment only. It also includes domestic investment. And this is why we have embarked on an investor aftercare program. We're taking care of those that have invested here, and we are asking new ones to invest here. And you are you're due for incentives that we would also offer foreign investors. So please do visit us, visit the BITC, visit the ministry to find out what incentives are in place at the moment. So ladies and gentlemen, with that said, I would like to wish you all a very good morning. I wish the BSE much prosperity, and that you continue to see more progress in this market, and that you continue to be that shining beacon for stock exchanges in Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you very much. A very good morning.
May we please give the Honorable Minister another round of applause, please. Thank you so much in taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with us this morning. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as you may be aware, it's now 10:15. The market has been open now for the past 20 minutes. But the next item on our agenda this morning is the official bell ringing to acknowledging the opening of the market. As you do see behind me, the screen has now turned green, which shows that the market is now officially open for trading. So at this point in time, I would like to call upon the Honorable Minister as well as the CEO, Rathole, to stand forward for the official bell ringing. I'd like to ask the members of the media to come up front as well for the photo opportunity. Thank you. I will give it a nice countdown from 3, and then we'll ring the bells. Are we okay? 3, 2, 1, ring. At this point in time, we are drawing close to the program. I'd like to call upon the BSE Head of Market Development, which is Ms. Thapelo Moribame, to deliver the vote of thanks. Please give her a round of applause.
My role here is to give the vote of thanks, and to kickstart that, I would like to acknowledge the presence of the Minister of Investment, Trade and Industry, Honorable Bogolokeng Nwendo, Chief Executive Officer of the BSE, Rathapelo Tseole, Chief Executive Officer of the Local Enterprise Authority, Dr. Rashas Moate, BSE Management, participants in the capital markets ecosystem, members of the media, friends of the BSE, ladies and gentlemen, good morning again. Today's program is quite important. We are focusing on the importance of SMME development in Botswana. This topic is quite pertinent and timely. As you've heard from what the Honorable Minister has said, SMMEs are particularly important. They're an important success story in most countries around the world. So Botswana is no different because the SMME sector has the potential to contribute largely to employment creation. So somebody has said growth is never by mere chance, but it's a result of forces working together. So this is very true, especially for stock exchanges around the world, the BSE included. We have long recognized the importance of SMME development, which is why we have established dedicated SMME markets for the sector, where we cater for the specific needs of these companies. So that's exactly what we did when we launched the TPD SMME board, which is open to companies to list on from the 1st of January 2019. So what this board does essentially is that it satisfies the capital raising needs of SMMEs by providing a direct financing platform for these enterprises to raise capital. So it's worth noting that as the BSE, we have the responsibility to develop the market. That is something that we take very seriously, because when we started our strategy, we did say we want to be world class. So the introduction of this mentorship program is going to be very important in getting companies to list on the exchange. So we do recognize that there's a lot that still has to be done. At the BSE, we define SMMEs in terms of the requirements that the company has to meet, which are less onerous compared to what you'd find on the main board and venture capital board. So we still need to work hard to profile and make available data on SMME development, particularly the quality, not just the quantity of such data. So for today, my role is to give the vote of thanks. So I'd like to take this time to say thank you to the Honorable Minister for gracing this event today, and particularly for the efforts that you continue to put in through your ministry, and for being a proponent of inclusion. So Honorable Minister, thank you so much. Thank you to Dr. Mwase, who is with us today. He brought forth some SMMEs to participate in this very important program, because as the BSE, we always say we believe so much in collaboration. You can't do anything alone. So collaboration is very important in taking the BSE forward and taking the country forward. So thank you to everybody. Thank you to the members of the media for being ever supportive of what we do at the BSE. Thank you to all the companies that are here today. Thank you to members of the public, BSE management. Bagaetsho, ke a leboga.
May we please give Ms. Murubame another round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come towards the end of our agenda this morning. Before we disembark for refreshments and the networking session, I'd first like to call upon BSE management to come to the stage. We would like to have a photo opportunity with the Honorable Minister before she leaves. So BSE management, may you please come to the stage here up front. Let's have a photo opportunity.